Christian, it's a very exciting time for us because Build 38 has just released its mobile banking threat report for 2025. When I think about the banking industry, you think heavy regulated, rigorous cybersecurity controls. So, would you not say it's safe to assume that most banking apps are secure by design?
No, I don't think it's natural that banks are protecting user data and their application. Of course, they should do so, yeah, and there's a lot of regulation in it that determines to do so. But what we as security experts see is that there's on the one side there's that checkbox security. Yeah, you're implementing something just to tick a box and then say, oh, we're secure. Yeah, we can go to the compliance team and say, hey, we've done something. But if it's really working, it's the attacker who decides on that. And this is what we're trying to figure out. If it's effective, what you're doing, or if it's just a label that you put on your application with that.
I just wondered whether you could perhaps share with the audience some of the main themes and actually how we carried out this study in the first place.
Sure. Basically, here is one of the reasons why we founded Bit 38 in the first place. I mean, we know that we're like, as a young company, in the middle of the perfect storm. And there are more and more apps being churned out, making it even more easier to develop an app and put it out. And the app is becoming more and more important. And that was already the case in 2019. Yeah? Digital banking was one of the first ones, but gaming also, and identity and other industries. They were bringing out apps that were taking the user as part of a direct endpoint into their ecosystem, into their infrastructure. And back then, I think it was Gartner who determined like 95, 97% in the stores were insecure. And we thought, well, this is something where you really need to do something about, because it's your mobile lifestyle that is at risk here. With that study, first of all, we looked into an industry that is very critical, banking, where your financial data is, where your processing financial transactions and stuff that is also regulated, as you said, but where we as consumers put a lot of trust in. If you look here, 19.9% of the organizations passed all of our 6 security tests. That is much better than the average, if you believe Gartner, with the 95, 97% of the apps in the stores being insecure. But still, you say 90.9%, that's much better than the rest of it. But is it good enough? And if I were one of the 80.1% of customers using these banks, I would say definitely not. I mean, 19.9%, and this is not what you're expecting. It's 1/5 of all the banking apps that are out there are secure enough. And we're talking here about 6 tests. How we did it is we took the first 6 steps that an attacker would take. And we thought about, if we were to figure out how financial transactions work for a certain bank, if we want to get into the back end, if we want to steal personal data, if we want to impersonate, we would do these 6 tests that is about whether you can root a certain device without being detected, whether it's about taking data and screenshots and stuff out of a working app, whether you can impersonate a user or get him to use a fake app. These are these basic 6 tests. And as an attacker, you would start with that. And then you think about, hey, who am I targeting? Am I targeting the ones who are super protected? Or am I targeting the ones who are not protected? And of course, I mean, also attacking is about resources, it's about time, it's about knowledge. So here you go for the 80.1%. We're seeing the first steps of an attacker downloading apps from the store. Anyone could do that. And then we start with these 6 tests. And then thinking how far we can get. And then we would determine like a list of targets and then go about it. So having that study done now, after we founded the company in 2019, still shows there is, for us at least, a perfect market. Growing apps, still 80.1% are insecure. There are a lot of companies out there that need better security for it. But thinking as a consumer, I'm pretty scared that still 4/5, over 80%, are actually insecure for basic tests like that.
Here I'm showing actually one of the main threats that we report on. So screenshot prevention. Now, when I think about screenshots again, just thinking with my consumer hat on, I may want to take a screenshot of my balance or my bank details and send it I mean, not necessarily my PIN or anything like that. I have that as my own reference. To me, just like a layman, I tend to think that, oh, there might be a reason why I'm allowed to take a screenshot when I'm using my app or whatever. But here it seems like we've highlighted it as a potential threat. So I guess my question to you, Christian, is would screenshots have a place within the mobile banking apps? And why would we determine that as a threat or perhaps a signal that something malicious could be happening?
Well, screenshot prevention is like a keylogger. And a keylogger is like you log everything that is happening via the keyboard. Now, there is no extra keyboard for an app. So what you want to do as an attacker is not logging every key you strike, but you want to see what's happening inside the app. And for that, you would start recording the screen. And then when the people you might know that, yeah, when they start typing their passwords, it shows for just a glimpse, shows the real number. And then you're really sure that you entered your PIN correctly or your password correctly. And if you do a screenshot recording of that, you basically have everything you need. And these screenshots are usually coming from a third-party app. So why are we trying to apps with our security technology from the rest of what's happening on the phone? Because in consumer devices, you cannot be sure what else is there, whether they downloaded one of these fake Lightning apps or these fake apps that are giving you some insight or some functionality, but in the background, they're doing actually that. They're recording the screen for everything you do on your phone, and they're sending it to their service. And if you're not protecting an app against screenshots and offering that as a certain feature, but just let any app on the phone record your screen, you're making yourself extremely vulnerable to someone who wants to become you as an attacker or become a man in the middle. So basically, they're watching you, what is happening, what's your password, what's your username, what is it that you're sending around as far as money goes, and all of that you record, you analyze, and afterwards you have a lot easier task of impersonating that person. If you think of it as a bank, if you go to an ATM, there are all these signs. Look over your shoulder and see your you see your screen when you're typing in your PIN. That's exactly the same here. And if banks are protecting their ATM for someone not watching you when you're entering your PIN and not doing the screenshot prevention, it's basically the same thing. Yeah, they need to prevent third parties on spying on you. If they want to give you as a consumer the ability to make a screenshot, they can do that easily in the app. Or a developer, that's just a few lines of code. Yeah.
We looked at 166 mobile banking applications, and here we've deduced that 66.3% of them were vulnerable to screenshots, and then 33.7 were not vulnerable. What do you think that says about the state of threat detection right now in the banking industry, specifically within the domain of mobile apps?
There's a lot of room for us to grow. We did another analysis of these apps and try to look at the ones who actually invested time, resources, money in doing something about cyber attacks in their apps. And still, and this is the most remarkable figure that we had in that study, only 11% of the banks we looked at that actually invested time, money, resources, people in protecting their apps were effective in doing that. So from the ones who take money and invest it, only 11%. That means 89% of the rest are just spending money for nothing. Yeah, they're spending it so they can probably say, hey, we did something, but it's not working. It's not effective. Yeah, the attackers look in every angle, whether it be routing, it be the use of AI, impersonating or finding vulnerabilities. Attackers have moved on and have something like the next generation toolkit already on their hands using AI, but also the learnings they had from the past. A lot of banks just didn't. Yeah, they are investing money in stuff that just doesn't work. Does not work means they're leaving their customers, leaving their data, they're leaving transactions and money out there for attackers to find and then take advantage of it. So people are buying stuff that is not working and are integrating stuff wrongly, not correctly, into their app. So it's also not working and spending money for it that could be put to much better use. Like investing in us.
Well, thank you very much, Christian, for your time. For the audience, If anyone is interested in seeing the whole study, the link will be below. If you have any commentary, any thoughts on what we've discussed today, please do comment on the post as well. Audience, see you again. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Mencey.